All right. So now, thank you, and thank you, Wim, for inviting me. So I prepared quite a lot of slides, some totally new, and some that I picked up from the previous presentations. So thinking on what you would like to see and get out of this. So there's quite much, let's say, written text. I don't spend too much time on each of the slides, but you will get that the whole set later on, so you can use that as learning. So that's part of my history. So being the former director for Lifelong Learning Institute Dipoli at the Helsinki University of Technology, which is now part of the Aalto University, and where I've worked as well. And now I've been last year's totally on the political decision making, 2.5 years as the president of this committee of the region, now for one of the vice presidents, but then chair of the board of my city, Espoo, the second largest city in Finland. So it's a bit like Leuven. So we are next to Helsinki here. Espoo has 300,000 inhabitants. We are a very strong university city. And we are, let's say, only 20-minute drive from the Helsinki-Vantaa airport. So some similarities with the Leuven, although that we are really practically attached to downtown Helsinki. So that's very close to us. I started here with adding there, one of my strong perspective recently is how to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. We, Espoo, we produced a year ago a special report to United Nations in the midsummer ministerial high-level group, high-level conference, and there is a link. You can find that and other aspects, because many of those explain the role of a city in initiating and implementing different innovation and innovative actions. Very much similar what Katrin was explaining about the Leuven itself. So now let's jump to the next. Yep. Here, first part of my presentation is really looking a bit so experiences from the perspective of this all the cities and regions in Europe. And during my presidency and a couple of years before and after that. But this is a good example of how the public sector, but companies as well, how we react. This is an innovation performance kind of index where the investments in research and innovation were calculated first during the period 2008 to 2010, when actually this economic recession in a way started. So, and in the beginning, you see there the green regions, so green areas in Europe. So they were dominating. That was the, let's say, increasing investments from year to year on research and innovation. But then when we moved on after all the last years of the recession, economic recession, so you see the orange is taking over. So orange are the regions who had declined, gone down in their innovation investments. And when we then look some of the elements out of this, so reactions, so I took these kind of conclusions that came from the Committee of the Region, really different official opinions. Opinions are the official response feedback to the European Commission and to the European Parliament, because every time when a Commission makes a new communication looking for some new initiatives or directives, so they need to ask the opinion of the Committee of the Region, because we are representing all the city and region level. So these are my summing up targeted to the perspective of innovation, and especially that if we want to have this more radical transformation, with Katrin was as well explaining from the Leuven perspective. So the starting point is that there is a huge gap between the latest research and the real life practice. So in all parts of Europe, even the forerunners in the, let's say, best innovative regions, we are not using as much latest research-based knowledge as we could. And from that perspective, the case of Leuven is very interesting, and especially this initiative. So because you said, Catherine said, so that everything needs to be, activities need to be science-based or science-focused. What is the new knowledge out of that issue, and how that is this science knowledge is used? So the 5 kind of key, let's say, findings, what is needed was that Europe needs more pioneering regions, so forerunners in implementing the European research and looking new solutions to meet to tackle the challenges and get the targets implemented. Then lifelong learning integrated to full use of ICT, so digitalization. They are very crucial to having the change of a mindset towards entrepreneurship and innovation. And that's very much what you as a program are looking for. The third key outcome or conclusion was that regional innovation ecosystems, that's the key kind of new finding what is needed. So, and especially these innovation ecosystems, they are based on often on the work of the university with all their students. So the fresh, new, innovative mindset is crucial there. But ecosystems, so one city, especially larger cities, take Berlin as an example. So it's a city which as such forms kind of innovation ecosystem, but it's formed of several smaller place-based ecosystems, and they together form this. And this as well means modernizing the triple helix. So it's not only, it's not enough that city or public administration works with the academia and with industry, but it needs to be more. It needs to be more this ongoing ecosystem thinking. Fourth point is that we actually need the stronger participation and partnerships, participatory, which was explained by Katrin and the mayor as well. So to reach the mentality of user-driven, and it's very much open innovation. Living Labs were very actively an instrument at that time, still are. And then the fifth one, we need to speed up the change by scalability and implementation. That is now tackling this very much the climate issue as well. Oh, sorry. And I took here the report that if you look the EU official resources, EU publications and so on, so you can find this as well from the net. It's during my presidency, I challenged our members to that by saying in the plenary that I need 20 of you or 50 of you to write your story, how you as a mayor or regional president, how you see your city or your region as a forerunner, how you are implementing the principles of innovation ecosystems, and then how this can be used in benchmarking and bench learning and bench acting. So how we learn from the data and information that we are collecting, and how we then implement, and that's what I mean with bench acting. So it's not enough that we benchmark, but we need move to action. And here we have the cases, and there are around 30 cases. My city, Espoo, we are one. There are several others like the Gdansk in Poland. Their mayor is explaining there what digitalization mean for this traditional harbor city in Poland. This city, which was well known for this revolutionary role 30 years ago, in the 80s to move for the democracy in Poland. And then there is Amsterdam as one of the innovation capital winners recent years as well. how they motivate, engage citizens, make with the citizens' mentalities there. Um, these slides, I took a few key messages from the report in 2014. So when we want to move stronger for the European, inventing the European future, so we need more European innovation partnerships. And there were these 7 or 8 key kind of messages, what kind of improvements are needed. And I highlighted with red, 2 of them provide an architecture for systematic change. So Katrin as well has in her slides this systematic approach implemented in Leuven. So that is very much what I stress heavily, and we've been implementing here in Espoo and Helsinki region as well. And the other one was there that adapt the ecosystem approach to delivery. When when I was the president, so 2015, 16, 17, so I had very many debates and discussions with Carlos Moedas, the Commissioner for Research and Innovation, and we there created more at the political level, kind of understanding what these ecosystems, regional innovation ecosystem mean, and that has been ever since so one of the key kind of building basements for the Commission research policy. So that is as well very, very essential. Now then the conclusions that I was the rapporteur for this closing the innovation divide that was asked by the Irish presidency at that time. So we looked, and there are the few of the key messages that we need to encourage bottom-up activities. They meet these ecosystems through systematic value networking. So it's not a traditional value based one dimension only, but it's really value networking. We need more innovation gardens, say, challenge platforms. So create these local elements, local based, which are very often these innovation platforms, innovation gardens. So they are very often university based or university linked physical areas, but as well very strong is the involvement and input from the students. And there all the time learning is the key, learning how we learn from the others, how to move ahead. Entrepreneurial discovery, that is one of the cornerstones on one of the instruments in the EU policy, the smart specialization strategy. So I'll come back a bit to that later on as well, but it's so that every region in Europe needs to define their, let's say, focus areas through which they want to move ahead to make this economic transformation effective. And then the fourth is so that we need more of these pioneering regions, and best pioneers for developing and running these Europe-wide projects should be finalized more through the Horizon 2020 or now the Horizon Europe and cohesion funds, so that we could form more breakthrough initiatives. So not a separate traditional Horizon project, but a combination of projects. And then conclusions from this part, so is that my special recommendation for the regional policymakers, focus especially on this entrepreneurial spirit, mindset, the value creation processes, implement these regional innovation strategies by getting all key stakeholders, this quadruple helix concept in effective use, and that's very much this Leuven 2030 is as well. So we have many similar initiatives, but that's really committing and sharing the forces and moving ahead together. The third recommendation for the regional policy makers was that all the key policymakers should understand the role and importance of innovation, use these regional innovation strategies based on ecosystems, and they are instruments on this for this economic transformation. There are a couple of the detailed what instruments are available and how to move ahead. And then the fourth one is that we need to speed up making the strategic political decisions. So the role of regional councils or city councils, city boards is very crucial. So take the innovation element and learning element there as a normal part of practically every measure or every board meeting. And this as well, so brought me that I was considering as well, what does this systematic approach mean for cities? And I made this kind of 3x4 kind of angles, groupings of actors. What does it mean for cities, and kind of looking towards the move towards implementing the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals? First, we need to see that do not operate in silo, but move to integrated activities. And that means seeing the city as a living environment, working environment, learning environment that needs to be kind of embedded in the city operations, but as well, city needs to be creating the collaborative mentality and instruments to form an innovation platform to speed up. And that, again, linking to Leuven 2030, it's a good example of that kind of approach. The second part is that we need to co-create. So not create by yourself, but create together a synergy between different actor groups and actors. And there are the, let's say, the four main actor groups: cities with other public authorities, city with the universities, education, research institutes, city with industry and other private actors, and city with citizens. So city's role is to move ahead, get these groups to work more together. And then the third part of this conclusion, the new role of cities, is that the working environment that needs to create the conditions for this change management and operational change. So, and again, there increase the creativity, innovation, a need for pioneering cities and regions in Europe. We need to think about experimenting, piloting, rapid prototyping, and then sharing and scaling up, and then conceptualizing this collaboration. And that's very much that I've been personally doing in recent years. So how to conceptualize this change. This, in a way, we're now moving a bit to the city perspective itself. So this kind of gives the overall frame, the Green Deal going local. So it's not only an EU instrument, this Green Deal, but how we implement that. And with the Committee of the Region, we has just agreed last week launching a special campaign, political campaign, but communication campaign, and how we encourage the local communication and activities, kind of Green Deal, local action plans based on the roadmaps. And then there are something six largest cities in Finland have worked a lot together. And I'll come back to that. So how we can encourage so that it's not only one city working with its own, let's say, industry and other players there, but work together. And then on the left hand bottom, there is the kind of visualized graphics of the Helsinki region smart specialization strategy. And there in the middle are our three key priority areas. One is climate, tackling the climate and being carbon neutral already by 2035 as a region, so 15 years ahead the rest of the EU. And then there is citizen, city, what does digitalization mean? What is the new normal after COVID-19? And then the third part is our industrial transformation. This again, so this highlights starting point is what President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, stressed heavily that this Green Deal, it's above all, it's a strategy, but it's an instrument for growth, a sustainable growth, creating jobs. And then there is our roadmap, Helsinki region to be carbon neutral 2035. So focus on these 6 focus areas, covering the broad spectrum. But in all of those, we have very important so that we have the strong industrial involvement as well. It's not only the regional council or the cities, municipalities playing for that, but using the latest knowledge, getting strong industrial involvement. Then concretely at the level of 6 cities, so this is a kind of 6 city strategy. So 6 cities, and on the left there is the map of Finland, and the 6 cities, largest cities, 3 of them are in the metropolitan area, Helsinki, Espoo, Vantaa. Then one on the west coast, Turku, one a bit more to the central Finland, Tampere, and Oulu city in the north. And these cities have now for the whole 7-year program period worked together. Program period, I mean the EU program period, where the Commission requested the use of the cohesion funds, so regional development funds, structural funds, that practically every region in Europe is getting some money as well. Though the Commission requested that it was obligatory to use a small part of that to the urban development. And that practically, in the case of Finland, it was using 100 million euros that was devoted for this 7-year period to 6 largest cities, how we together implement the EU urban agenda. And there are then some links to that and some examples there, so cases that we used. And in all of the practical these, so the 6 cities together they formed, and they needed, in all of them needed to be at least 2 or 3 cities doing the practical work together and moving stronger than to the results. This is a slide from Turku city, how they form their vision. So this on the left, so that seeing that one of those, what they formed the target of the Turku in 2030 or practically 2029, because that's the year when the city of Turku reaches 800 years of existence. So it was established 800 years ago. It's practically the oldest city in Finland. And so how they formed, what they were, their different political targets are the kind of circles there around the target year, and then in the city council they agreed with the roadmap how to move there, and it through this experimenting and demonstrating and testing, so they move ahead. And then there is this kind of their kind of sun, including culture and learning and history, identity, energy. So what are the attractions? What are the sustainability elements? What are the major competitiveness elements? And what are the well-being elements? And these need to be then integrated in all the activities of the Turku. Espoo developed this, what we have had, this kind of concept of city as a service, starting with the school as a service. So school is not anymore mainly a building which we can see and where the pupils and students go, but it's more a mentality, it's a mindset on learning. And then there we developed our approach to the innovation and service ecosystems, how to integrate the work of large companies, emerging challenges, very often small startups, or then there is the research ecosystems and public ecosystems. And these together form the, let's say, very much the city facilitated ecosystem towards innovation. And there are some figures of the 6 city collaboration. You had the links there, so you can go to have a lot of good, useful reports there about the work of the public sector on the different governance levels. So strong involvement, more than 3,000 companies were involved when we used the regional development funds. and more than 600 companies when we use these 6 cities use the social funds on that, and so on. The next then, so this is as well, so kind of our roadmap with the city as a service concept. So 2013, and if I remember right, Katrin said, so the 11 2030 initiatives was started in 2013. So that's at the same time that we started how to create the city story together. So what is the future of city? It needed some leadership and cultural changes, enterprise architectural changes, experiment development focus, co-creation mentality changes, and new instruments for knowledge management, and in increasing the impact of leadership. Again, I wrote down here that Katrin stressed the importance of distributed leadership, and that's for sure. So I fully agree that it's not only that we have a city mayor or regional mayor or some government, but we need to really get everyone on board. And there we have this ESPO program that we implement the SDGs and so on. So now then another example is so that it needs this new changes. They need really to be forming high quality, unique international innovation hubs. And this is where the Aalto University is based, the large campus, but it's the surrounding area as well. It's actually around 5 square kilometers, the area with the university campus, with a lot of industries, high-tech companies, a lot of startups, and then the Tapiola Garden City, main residence and business area there on the same 5 square kilometer area. And half of the value of Helsinki Stock Exchange, the headquarters of the companies that are in Helsinki Stock Exchange, half of that value is located there. So it's really a strong business hub as well. And here are some numbers that how we are through the urban planning and collaboration with the companies, how we are moving ahead. So for the next years. This is as well an example from Oulu, the northern part of Finland. The Gulf of Bothnia is there. Around that, the good collaboration between northern Finland and northern Sweden. There are 3 major industrial process companies and their development, so that how they are very strongly moving to carbon neutrality, taking, let's as an example, hydrogen as the main source for their energy, and other renewables as well. So very strongly reforming towards the green industry in northern Finland and practically northern Sweden as well. So it needs to be, if we want to reach, and as we want to reach the targets of the carbon neutrality, we need to get the industry to make these investments heavily as well. Next slide. So from research perspective, VTT, the Technical Research Center of Finland. So we have very good collaboration now. The city of Espoo, we have a kind of a special initiative which we call Restart. So what after the COVID and how we are integrating research and innovation even more to the city development. So what does this restart mean? And part of that is analyzing how the research is tackling first the systematic challenges and then technological challenges. And these are the 7 key challenges in these 2 groupings. So systematic approach is above on that, finding answers to carbon neutrality, how to increase the productivity, and how to have a better societal resilience. Technological challenges, which are really all these elements are influencing hugely on the governance of cities, regions, and national governments as well. quantum leap in computing, meaning artificial intelligence, all elements of that. Super performing materials, so materials is changing, and the whole cycle is an enormous new opportunity, which is having a breakthrough initiatives moving on. Then superior digital systems, and so applying this digitalization to all activities, industry and city level as well, and then biology and creating a lot for food and for well-being. And for all that, EU is as well having their own instruments. So I picked up here a few, but had there the strong message that SDGs implementation is there and needs to be everywhere. On the right side, there is this as well. So several of these EIT KICs, the European Innovation and Technology Institute. So, and their KIC. So in Leuven case, the climate KIC was one very instrumental. We have several of them located in the city of Espoo. The local European hubs, innovation hubs are here. Their nodes of the KICs are here. And then there are many other, the new incoming EU missions, Green Deal going local, use of joint research center and so on. And for this, now then comes the next part. So this means that cities need to be ready for change. Here, a nice slide by my friend Richard Taft. So that city needs to be a systems innovator. So economic systems, social systems, governance systems, urban systems, and all operating and city role is as a systems innovator, how to make this transformation to happen. So cities cannot anymore create all those services that the citizens want and need, but cities need to work more with the industry, large and small, with the social economy organizations and so on. This means strong focus. Maybe Wim van Petegem, you remember this. So this actually slide comes from 30 years back when we were creating together this European-wide network of education, continuing education and professional development institutes, universities. And I applied that so that this kind of systems thinking coming from, at that time, Peter Senge wrote this fifth discipline book, is stressing the importance of personal mastery, integrating that to the mental models, and then having more team learning, shared vision. So you cannot, as an individual, you cannot learn only by yourself. You need to integrate the learning of the others, part of that. And then with this triangle concept, I wanted to show that the professional development of the individual needs to be working hand in hand with his employer, so the company, but as well we need outside latest knowledge, and that's the symbol of the university there. So education and learning is the key in implementing all 17 sustainable development goals, but it's key in all EU related activities. Here, for your information, I think that this kind of storytelling is coming strongly to today. This goes back to about 5, 6, 7 years when I wrote this, so that in being involved with the creating of the Aalto University as a merger of 3 universities, technology and science with the art and design and business. So this Aalto University was formed now 11 years ago, and I was one of the, let's say, facilitators, directors of that process. It was like a 3-step, 3-act drama, the systematic approach. We needed to create a mentality for innovation ecosystem. We need to audit what we have and how to take the activities further on. how then the second part was the context for innovation ecosystems, understanding what this ecosystem mean, what is the role of foresight on that, how to create the concepts needed there, and then working on the implementing the new mental change, the innovation ecosystem, create the value. And that was like focusing this, my own understanding that what were the essential success factor, entrepreneurial mindset, deeper understanding of innovation, and then all the time implementing everything on real life, real case practice. So so the role of city and the region has always been instrumental. And this is part of the outcomes of this transformation. What does orchestration mean in reality? So we made it's about 25 to 30 different articles that was one of the key editors in creating how to make this transformation to happen. So they are published on that book. And this all is based actually so that traditionally when we see an apple tree or whatever, we see the tree and then we see the apples. So that has been the target. So to have a good apple tree, but Wim was as well involved in a couple of our innovation camps from 2 days to 7 days. So how we created and started to understand the metaphor of this ecosystem based on the metaphor of gardening. So the soil is crucial. So the roots are essential. So we need to look more on that than just to pick up the fruits. But then is as well, so when we combine that both ways, so then we can really create a joint regional innovation ecosystem. This is as well, so kind of trying to show as a model. So it's not anymore a traditional machine model, so in the engineering model. It's not only the biological modeling, but it's very much social modeling and all these. So how we integrate these, that the nature of inquiry needs now to move from analytical approach to the systems approach. And then we need to be ready to pioneer this regional innovation ecosystem and integrate different elements to that. So kind of orchestrating many parallel opinions and activities. This is a report 4 years ago, committee, now the European Joint Research Center, they wanted to analyze what this ecosystem, regional innovation ecosystem really means, what is the role of place on that, and then they analyzed our Aalto University and Espoo Innovation Garden for that. That can be found from the Commission or Joint Research Center publications as well. And this is now how we implement that on the smart specialization strategies, which have now for 10 years been already RIS 3, but now EU together with the Committee of the Region, we want to move that RIS 4. So sustainability is strongly there. And this is what does that mean in reality and how we have made the graphics of that in our Helsinki, Uusimaa region. What does it mean here? Integrating the collaboration strongly on that. And then final part, so briefly this, how we kind of see this from the EU level, what is needed at the moment for encouraging the innovativeness and learning perspective. So Committee of the Regions, we together with the Commissioner Maria Gabriel, so we've signed a joint action plan for our 5-year activities. So original first joint action plan was during my presidency, but now it's more in depth. And in the action plan, there are instruments, several defined joint instruments that the Commission, EU Commission is working with the Committee of the Regions and with us, though, then with cities and regions all around Europe. So with the yellows, key, let's say, groups of these instruments, the evidence-based policy making in the region, then the use of the EU research area, integrated to education area, and several new instruments on that, including the Europe EU missions, and then raising the awareness. And that's very much what we need to do, and that's very closely linked to work of the EIT KICs in all regions in Europe, awareness and this dissemination of both the funding opportunities, but as well good new knowledge. And these then highlighting the importance, this is the new instruments that is coming in June. So next month, EU should make the final decisions to launch the work of the 5 mission areas. Several of them are very closely linked to the cities, especially the climate neutral and smart city initiative, and then how to adapt to the climate, but as well so the role of waters, so oceans, inland waters, the water, fresh water itself, and then soil health and food, and cancer is the 5th one. And here, how we, the Committee of the Regions, so how we've thought and how we are stressing forward how to implement the mission. So it means that it should much more be the bottom-up work, but a lot joint research efforts. And then our role, city level, is to organize the implementation of that. And there will be now the new instrument, ERA hubs, so European Research Area, local regional hubs where the city-driven activities together with the universities are the kind of testing and experimenting and scaling up this, what the missions are bringing in, or mission-related research is bringing. So there again, that is very essential on that. And this is my final concluding slide. So something for you to read afterwards as well and think. So kind of, since the European partnerships need to be so universities collaborating on this kind of program that you are having, encouraging this kind of partnership development, but everything needs to be more from the bottom up to challenge and find the solutions. And then there are kind of 5 mental change focus areas. So the climate tackling initiatives are very crucial, and this Green Deal going local is making that a reality. Then we need to certain kind of dance of research and innovation with practice. So not only as a separate research, but with real life practice. We need to think about knowledge circulation, so circular economy for knowledge. That's a term that I've used quite long. And then we need to move the regional innovation ecosystem, that they operate as a test bed for rapid prototyping. And then when looking stronger impact of digitalization, that means that we need to use the full potential of European digital innovation hubs and European research area hubs, which are the instruments in a starting phase and committed by the European Commission. So thank you. This was my, let's say, introduction and my story. So how to move ahead. So, and I'm happy as well to take a few answer to the few questions if you have those.
Okay, thank you, Markku. Well, first of all, for your inspirational talk, and also talking about cities at the one hand and the European level at the other hand. I think you made nice connections there. I also like the fact that you could compare quite well with what Leuven is doing and with the first talk. So thank you for that as well. So now we don't have to do the mental links ourselves. You did that for us. Thank you. Yeah, the floor is open for questions. I didn't see questions in the chat, but maybe someone would like to ask a question to Markku. If not, I can start with a question maybe. While you were talking, I was a bit surprised is not the right word, but I noted that you were using different metaphors when we talk about innovation. I think that sometimes we talk about ecosystems, but you also talked about innovation gardens. We talk about platforms. We talk about hubs. We talk about hotspots. We even talked about innovation camps. And yes, I was a member of these camps. I was just wondering, why are we using so many metaphors to illustrate a point like innovation? Is that because it's a very difficult subject, a difficult topic, or is it because it's such a rich topic maybe that we need to clarify it with different metaphors? Otherwise, it's not possible to grab it. I was just wondering.
Yeah, this actually it's a very interesting question. So, but I've seen that explaining to people with different backgrounds, coming from different parts of the world and so on. So, and the different cultures and so on. But here in the city level as well, innovation is quite a complicated word. So when we then start what is the essential for that and that kind of mentality, what is essential for this mental change. So this metaphor with gardening, I think it creates a lot. So Catherine was talking about the preconditions for the certain development of the city. So again, if we use the metaphor of that, so I think that brings it very, very good. And just another element, even at the political level. So I was the member of parliament in Finland in the around the change of the millennium, 8 years together. And there we have, Finland was a unique country because we there formed a special parliament committee for the future. Official parliament, permanent committee, like every parliament has the committee for culture or committee for finance or coming for foreign affairs. But we wanted to see that the future is so important, we need a specific committee for that. And that's committee was debating, inviting experts for the committee work, and the committee we have 17 members still existing, all those every 4 years after the elections there will be at least partly new. And there we tested this kind of the why and how we can get innovation to be an essential word for members of parliament. And on this, so this metaphor of thinking, if we were discussing with farmers or politicians with the farming background, or the ones with the forest background or forestry and so on. So this was very useful when we spent time, even hours, discussing what does this innovation there mean and why the metaphor of gardening is so crucial, and then what can the technology bring to that. I think this is one of the very good reasoning that it's proved to be good, this metaphor thinking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions in the meantime?
I actually have a question. Markku, thanks so much for the presentation. It was really interesting and very inspiring for different cities, I think, because we all come from many different places, and it's great to have these examples of Espoo, of Leuven, and to see how, well, what actually, like, look at our own cities and have a look what's going on over there. And my question would be, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs and innovators in the room today, and my question would be, what can we do as people involved in the topic of innovation to start collaborating with cities or with governments? What should be our first step when thinking about starting this kind of collaboration?
Maybe the easiest is actually that you pick a few ideas or partly documents as well, or slides from what Katrin was using or what I was there. So think about that in your case as a student or as a researcher or as an entrepreneur. What based on these couple of these slides or documents, why you think that the city should be, let's say, waken up? and use that and ask for an appointment with someone in the city administration. Easy is always definitely partly with the politicians, but try to, and nowadays with the net, so you can find a lot who are of the politicians who are interested in this kind of innovation related activities, who are the major players there in the city, or even go directly to the mayor. So they invite that does the mayor have, let's say, hopefully half an hour time for you, but at least the minimum is 15 minutes, and then you have a few of this. So look, these other cities are doing this, and the city has been able to create this kind of strong, positive entrepreneurial mindset. And then that's why I as well, so I had some links there with our voluntary local review program, which is actually that document is 200 pages on all those 17 SDGs, a lot of photos, or you can find a lot from the Aalto University startup activities / the major entrepreneurial events, so that the students originally from Aalto University, they have created the whole concept, and it's a / foundation which is running the concepts, which hopefully the end of this year, which will again be on live somewhere here in the Helsinki area. It's 20,000 people, entrepreneurs, young people coming together with the 500 investors coming from United States and so on. So there, it has a huge impact, what it has had. And again, so the role of the city has been being one of the instruments for that, not the only one, because the key is the young people and the mindset on that kind of exercise. But you can find a good example from those. So then you have something to offer for the mayor, what he needs.
Or
So
she.
first, understanding the needs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
she.
What does the
Thank you, Ben.
understanding and
Thank
what are the options there so that they could have, and there are more and more of this kind of good cases going on in cities all around as well.
Thanks so much. I liked also the idea of looking at what's happening in other cities and saying, look, they are doing that.
Yep.
We are not yet. And this is my solution. So let's go and innovate. I like it. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. I see Arno has also a question. I think that is interesting for Markku to answer.
Yes, so first of all, thank you, Markku, for your insights and the presentation. And so, yeah, we talked a lot about innovation practices and inspirations, not only in Finland, but also towards other countries in Europe. And so I was wondering, do you see European cities or even European countries not being focused on innovation, on sustainability, or on entrepreneurship at all? Or do you see like some parts in Europe where major improvements need to happen in comparison with other European countries?
Practically, definitely innovation and this kind of mental change, it's needed everywhere. And in close to all cities throughout Europe. So we have, and more of the mayors are personalities which have a strong commitment to this kind of approach, because citizens request that. They want to have the politicians to tackle climate change, and they want the politicians to create favorable conditions for new businesses. They want the politicians who know how to get new jobs and so on, who can make the living environment more friendly and more user driven and so on and so on. So and that means that we have more and more of those mayors, city or regional level, who want to be that, and that's why they are stressing the importance, and that's why they are more committed to form these partnerships. And what I've seen now, if I compare the time today for the 10 years ago, when I look the members of the committee of the region, because it's a huge spectrum of 350 people. So it's a huge, so more and more those are the most, let's say, interesting ones who take the floor in debate, who have something to offer for the others. So they are the mayors who want their city to collaborate, his or her own city to collaborate with the many of the others. And that's why, as an example, this what I was explaining, and Wim was telling that he was part of as well, the innovation camp. So we have used that joint research center of the EU, published even a handbook on that. So you can find that somewhere in the EU publications, a handbook or guidebook for innovation camps. And like a small town, a bit northern part of or central part of Bulgaria, Gabrovo has been a very good example. The young lady mayor has brought that and started to use the concept of innovation camps, organized several times that with young people, because it's not only, or it's especially with young people to create this future for the city. So they've used that very often. It's a traditional, what they used to call the Manchester of Bulgaria, but it's really old and they need a lot of renewal things. So they use this as a good example. So now it's quite well known. So for this major initiative that the mayor was able to get implemented. So there's a lot of this kind of change going on, and that is a positive thing, because it means that we are having a stronger global role as a Europe when working together.
Okay, thank you, Markku. Any more questions? I just have a quick one, Markku. At a certain moment, and you were talking, and you didn't emphasize it very much, but I thought it's a very nice statement. You were saying it was in the context of cities as a service, and then you were, for instance, giving an example that schools are not just a building, but you said schools are also a mindset. And I was just wondering if you could elaborate just a little bit on that.
Actually quite long to the history. So Espoo, we were one of the UNESCO kind of awarded learning city, and where we started to focus more, what does it mean to be an effective learning? So already in 90s, so we as well, we organized a city together with the Helsinki University of Technology. We organized special training for teachers of how to use the computers, because that time, the beginning of 90s, we did not have internet yet. So, and we were organizing a lot that way before the World Wide Web came active. So using the first steps of internet was really collaborating. But that was as well getting the young pupils, especially in the even the lower secondary school, so around age 13 to 15, they were very active. And from that, so then the city took that, okay, we can invest more on that kind of mental change, so that the learner is the key, not the teacher anymore. And the role of teachers started to change to be more facilitators of learning. And then together with actually 2 universities here in the metropolitan area, we started organizing what we call the Computer Center for Schools. And I was the chair of the board of that, but it was our joint effort. So we were as well. So personally, I needed to commitment, because I tried to get some of our professors from the University of Technology go to give a lecture 1 hour about what is a computer. So what is inside that? What is the technology behind that? But it seemed to be so complicated that after I had talked with 5 or 6 of the professors, can you do that? So then I did, and they said they refused for whatever reason. So I said, okay, I need to, I'll spend 2 days studying a bit more about what is inside the computer and go to teach in front of the teachers there to explain for the teachers. So why this is some breakthrough initiative, and what is the computer as a tool, as an instrument, and prepared for the tough questions that the teachers can make. So this is kind of way to make this transformation to happen. And now we, as an example, so now we have 2 upper secondary schools, so high school level. So they are located at the Aalto University campus. The first one was something, was it 7-8 years ago, when we needed to renovate one of the nearby schools, to renovate the building. So we needed to transfer the children and teaching somewhere for the period of 2.5 years. So we decided that there's one building in the campus that we can accommodate for that. So the city rented that facility, but agreed the same time that let's use the chemistry lab and other facilities of the university for the school, for their exercises. So 2 years later, when the renovation was close to ready, and so the students refused, we don't want to go back to our old school, we want to stay here at the university campus and getting more. And so, okay, the city created so that we changed the structure of that school building a bit more, so they stayed there at the campus, and we made a special agreement with the university and the upper secondary school how to develop that further. Then it was 3 years ago, then we had as part of our renewing our school system, the network. So we then made at the city board the decision, let's establish a new school at the university campus. Again, an old building there, not very old, but 50-year-old anyhow, was renovated for a new purpose, and we took that for the use of the school. So that's now the #1 most attractive school in Espoo, where the children at the age of 15, 16, they want to get the entrance there for the upper secondary school. So it's a good example, so that it's not the building, but it's what is around, so you can use the facilities around the school and so on and so on. So it's really more on that. So we've started to build this as a network of schools where children can as well move from one building to another. So it's not anymore tied up to that one location. Sports activities can be in our the different sports halls and so on, but it's important for the city as well when we plan our investments. So we don't need to make all the specific equipment and rooms for this and that purpose in every one of the schools, but we share that.
Mm-hmm. That's a very nice example, and actually it reminds me the Minister of Education here in Flanders want to invest quite a lot of money in school buildings for the next coming years. Maybe they should have listened to what you just said and gave as an example how you do it in Finland. It's not just the buildings that are important, it's also the environment and well, the ecosystem, let's say.
Yep.
I think that's